none of this.
Wait a minute.
Surely he's
what
not
are you
gonna.
talking
Surely
about?
he don't want none of this.
I'll search across the land, look for it.
Hell, I've just been doing this for 15 years. What do I know? Huh? I'm an idiot, right? Get out of my sight.
Crocs, you run, you slide, hit the bump and take the dive. Crocodile Mile with
Izzo. This is world premiere Jay-Z. We're proud to have it on TRL. It's called Izzo.
Somebody to play on one day's notice for only $10.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't be nervous, son. Just slow down.
It's supposed to sound that way.
Right.
This Victorian set with a pickle finish, marble top dresses and nightstands.
1/2 right.
Don't miss this chance of a lifetime, and Michael Abad and Water Westbank, where we save you money.
You're watching the Crescent City's premier independent station, WGNO 26, television, New Orleans style.
Welcome back to DwreckTV, everybody. I'm Dwreck. And it is that time again for everybody wants to talk about WrestleMania. WrestleMania this, WrestleMania that. Every year around this time is WrestleMania season. Everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to talk about the WWF or WWE, how they want to call it. I'm not going to get too much into WrestleMania because it's just the same thing over and over again. And plus, after I've done a whole week of ranking every single WrestleMania from 1 all the way to 40, back when 41 was around last year, and that was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever put myself through. I mean, the first few WrestleManias were really good all the way up until 26, and after that they just went crash, burn, and they've never recovered. No matter how many people they want putting in the venues, in the stadiums, we made this much money, we got this much people in the building, and blah, 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 blah. The biggest thing, get the fuck out of here, people. I don't care how much money they make. I don't care how many people they have in the stadiums and everything. I see through the whole facade, and it's all garbage. But I don't want to talk about that no more. I said I was done with that. I am done. So what brings me back around this time to talk about WrestleMania? Well, as much as everybody wants to expect me to talk about all the shit and the bad stuff of WrestleMania, I'm going to talk about something that's actually good. I want to talk about something good for once. And for that, I'm going to list down DwreckTV's top 20 WrestleMania matches. These, at first I thought about like my favorite match from each WrestleMania, but after 26 it was all garbage. No matter how much I tried to be more open-minded to them, I can't. It was that bad. Like I said, I was solely with New Japan and Ring of Honor during that time, but that's not neither here nor there. I'm going to talk about what were the top 20 matches that I've seen in WrestleMania. Some of the best ones, some of the matches that just left me on the edge of my seat, the ones that were like the most exciting, and the ones I can watch over and over each year and not get tired. So with that being said, it took me a while to compile everything, but I got everything written down all right here. So, that being said, let's go into top 20 WrestleMania matches. Okay, number 20 was from probably the most embarrassing WrestleMania ever, but this one was probably the most saving grace out of all of them, was AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. And what sucked about it was, let me get the bad stuff out of the way. It was in the middle of the freaking card, and especially what happened after, like later in the show, that thing that happened, I just turned the whole thing off. I said, fuck this shit, and I'm so glad I never went through it. But the good thing about it was, I remember seeing AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura fight in New Japan at Wrestle Kingdom 10. That was probably one of the best matches of the whole decade, if I might add. One of. But, it just felt like it was the first of a series. But their second match that took place at WrestleMania in New Orleans, of all places, for the World Wrestling Federation Championship, I might add. It was exciting. That was probably the best match on the whole card. But for it to be on the most embarrassing WrestleManias ever was a travesty. But number 20 was Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles. Probably two of my favorite ones from the whole 2010s, especially AJ Styles from the 2000s and everything. Number 19 was the Money in the Bank ladder match from WrestleMania 24. It had guys like CM Punk and Chris Jericho was the Intercontinental Champion, Shelton Benjamin, MVP, John Morrison, Ken Anderson, and Carlito. That match was nuts. I'd say a lot of ladder matches at WrestleMania are absolutely bonkers, but this one was just out of control. Especially seeing Matt Hardy come out and just all the freaking flips and the high-risk moves that would just leave you on the edge of your seat. It was freaking crazy for that one. And poor Shelton Benjamin. That dude has been in like so many ladder matches in WrestleMania. I don't think he even had a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. Number 19 was the Money in the Bank ladder match from WrestleMania 24. Number 18, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock from WrestleMania 15. I remember watching this on pay-per-view back when I used to watch pay-per-views in this kind of format. Yeah. But even though I couldn't really see everything that was going on, I could hear what was going on. And I could barely see what was going on anyway. But that match was crazy. The whole night was really good and exciting, and just, it was like, what is going on here? Literally, like, what is going on? But, and then whenever I got it on VHS with the Legacy Collection, I just thought the match was insane, nuts, and like I said, like, I don't really care for, like, I know it was a no disqualification match, but it was like, come on, just let us have a straightforward WrestleMania main event match. But for what it was good. Other than the commentary team of Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross, even though Jim Ross is great, Jerry Lawler as a heel commentator I fucking hate, but I don't want to talk about that right now. But that match was great. It was exciting, and seeing Stone Cold hit a Stone Cold Stunner twice to put away The Rock, and then Mankind coming out to referee and he counted the 3. That was a good way to end the whole show. That really was. Next, number 17 is Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant from WrestleMania 3. And you're probably thinking, why is a match like this so low on the list? Well, even though that match it broke so many box office records and everything, especially because the names of Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, the match was really good. It was exciting, and especially my grandfather loved that match a lot, especially like the whole night, the whole show, because he had it on VHS and he would watch the whole thing sometimes, and it was just it was very memorable, and it was very sentimental to me, especially watching it with my grandfather and everything. Hearing him laugh at the ref bumps and the manager bumps, it was freaking great. But the match between Hogan and Andre even though they didn't do too many wrestling moves, it was still sentimental to me, especially because of my grandfather. Number 16 is Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle from WrestleMania 19. This match was freaking nuts because you got two collegiate wrestlers. You got an Olympic gold medalist in Kurt Angle. You got an NCAA division champion in Brock Lesnar. A freak of nature. And those two in the main event of WrestleMania for the World Wrestling Federation Championship is probably one of the most athletically intense matches they've ever put on. Because those two were just animals. And then, halfway through the show, like towards the end, Brock Lesnar does the unthinkable. He goes up top and does a shooting star press, almost breaks his freaking neck. And then he winds up finishing the whole match, and he didn't break his neck. That's the funny thing that Kurt Angle said on Joe Rogan's podcast, that Brock Lesnar did not break his neck when he missed the shooting star press. That was freaking nuts. But that whole night was great. But the match between Angle and Brock Lesnar, topping it all off, was a good one. Number 15 was, oh man, the Dudley Boys versus the Hardy Boys versus Edge and Christian at WrestleMania 16. I ordered WrestleMania 16 when I was 15. It was when I was 15 years old, 2000. Rented the pay-per-view. I thought it was a good show, but the one match that really stood out throughout the entire show was that ladder match. If it wasn't for that ladder match, the whole show would have just been a subpar WrestleMania. But that match stole the whole night. Everything from the Dudley Boys going through the tables and Hardy Boys going through tables and the chair shots and everything, and it was absolute carnage. Probably one of the biggest, most insane hardcore matches that WWF had put on at that time. It definitely cemented those tag teams as the top three of the whole company, and a series of tables, ladders, and chair matches that would come within the next few years. But that was a real good one. I will never forget that one. Number 14 is the Macho Man Randy Savage versus the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7. It was a career versus career match in which the loser would have to retire. This match was great between two intense superstars, and the Macho Man and the Ultimate Warrior. And seeing them battle it out was just incredible. It was just freaking crazy. And then Warrior wound up winning the whole thing, and Macho Man had to retire. And then towards the end, when Sherry Martel was berating Macho Man, and then Miss Elizabeth jumped to his rescue, and they finally see each other for the first time in like 2 years at that time. And then they finally hug, and everybody in the crowd was like all crying, like, come on. That was like soap opera drama at its finest. But I thought it was a good show. I thought it was a good match, and definitely one of my favorite matches of WrestleMania. Number 13 is the three-way main event from WrestleMania 20. Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Chris Benoit versus Shawn Michaels. Even though I didn't watch WrestleMania 20 live at that time, I wound up getting it on DVD about a few years ago. But from what I remember seeing like highlights of the match, I just thought this match was freaking nuts. Even though I'm kind of on the fence about multi-man main events, and especially in WrestleMania, it should always be like one-on-one for the WWF title. But with it being a three-way for the WCW world title, it was, at first on paper, it just seemed like, oh, why at WrestleMania of all places? That should be the WWF title. But this match was freaking nuts. Probably the most intense three-way matches I've ever watched. Between that and what would become later on with AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels in TNA in 2005, and especially the three-way with Terry Funk and Sabu and Shane Douglas in ECW like almost 10 years prior. That match was nuts. If y'all ain't never seen Triple H fight Chris Benoit and Shawn Michaels in the main event of WrestleMania 20 in Madison Square Garden, do yourself a favor and find that match. That was freaking nuts. And speaking of nuts, is number 12. Edge versus Cactus Jack from WrestleMania 22. As I've said, WrestleMania 22 was it felt more like a Saturday night's main event than anything. And me and my friends Robert and Duke had ordered it, and all three of us were like, dude, this is like what's going on here? Like, there was no excitement. But the only match that had excitement in it was Edge fighting Cactus Jack, Mick Foley. That was nuts! Everything from the thumbtacks, the freaking barbed wire, and then to cap it all off with a flaming table, Edge spears Cactus Jack through the ropes, through that flaming table. We was like, dude, this was nuts! But that match was freaking crazy. That's another match y'all gotta check out. Was Edge versus Cactus Jack at WrestleMania 22. That was freaking nuts! Number 11 is Shawn Michaels versus Diesel at WrestleMania 11. Everybody wants to say WrestleMania 11 is one of the worst, man. He's one of the worst, man. Shut up. Compared to what I've seen that would come later, WrestleMania 11 is nowhere close. Nowhere fucking close to being the worst I've ever seen. Don't make me laugh. But the whole night was exciting. Not the best, but definitely not the worst. And then the match between Shawn Michaels and Diesel for the WWF title. That was probably one of the best matches on the whole show. And especially on my honorable mention with Bret Hart and Bob Backlund, that I Quit match. I thought that was a good one. But when it came to Shawn Michaels and Diesel, those guys went on all cylinders. Shawn Michaels with his hit and run attacks, and Diesel with his powerhouse moves and everything. That was a real good match. Y'all gotta check that out. WrestleMania 11, don't listen to these freaking naysayers or nothing. That was a good show. It was definitely better than a lot of them, than every WrestleMania. I would say out of all the WrestleManias, I would rather watch WrestleMania 11 over anything that came after 26. Any day. Blow me. Next up is empty. Well, we're gonna get Drake. We're gonna take a quick commercial break, and I'll be right back after these messages.
Don't you dare touch that dial, because DwreckTV is gonna be back after these messages. Woo, woo.
It's the spree. The outside part that's fruity and sweet, and the inside part that's sour.
There are two important parts to your tongue. The part that senses sweet and the part that senses sour. What does it all mean?
It means you should eat spree.
Because if you eat something that's just sweet for this part, or something that's just sour for this part, you could get a bored tongue. Spree. Do it for your tongue.
All right, son, what's he look like?
Well, he was pink.
Caucasian?
No, pink.
And big, you say?
Yeah, like a big marshmallow.
And what'd he do?
He made me and my friend play this game, Avalanche, and he dumped all these little blobs on me. And the only way that I could survive was if I buried my buddy in boulders.
Oh, look, he's a cutie. Is this the guy?
Kirby's Avalanche, the chain reaction puzzle game. Or try Kirby's Dream Course. It's Psycho Golf in 3D, only for Super NES.
All right, son. Marshmallow?
Cardio Bionic Perpetual Motion Machine. The Morgusso Perpetual Life Machine. This is my vac seat, my friends. This is a machine that does exciting things to the brain. The Bio-Ultronic Body Analyzer. Step over here to my...
Making New Orleans a better place to live. Morgus presents. Sponsored in part by Tasty Donuts.
And now back to DwreckTV. Woody wow! Number 10.
All right, we back now. Number 10 is Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. As I've said, I didn't watch WrestleMania 21 at that time. I didn't watch it. I only seen like highlights of it and a few matches here and there until I got the DVD. But out of all the matches on 21, it was Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle that did it in. That match was freaking nuts. You want to talk about like two generational talents. Shawn Michaels representing the new generation, and Kurt Angle representing like late attitude going into ruthless aggression. That was a battle of generations in that one. That was crazy. Shawn Michaels doing moves that he ain't done in quite some time, and he debuted his I call his Marufuji pants because it reminds me of Naomichi Marufuji from Pro Wrestling Noah. But that whole match was great. Kurt Angle was going all cylinders. Michaels was going all cylinders. And even though Angle won, I thought the match was really good, and it definitely showed that those two were like on top of their game, and there was nobody like them. That was a good one.
Number 9.
You want to talk about going on all cylinders? Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in the ladder match at WrestleMania 10. Oh my god! That match right there was freaking nuts! Even though I didn't watch it at that time, I didn't watch it until I had gotten that Legacy VHS collection, and I thought that match was freaking nuts. Even though WrestleMania 10, they had a lot of good matches, especially with Bret and Owen and Bret and Yokozuna in the main event. And even as crazy as Macho Man and Crush was and everything, but I'd have to say the best match on that whole show was Michaels versus Razor in the ladder match. They were so close to like breaking limbs. Like they could have broke the arms, could have broke the legs and everything. It's like, dude, it was freaking nuts. I don't like seeing like broken arms, broken legs and everything, but it's like they took those bumps and they still came out intact. It was like, fuck, man, it was nuts. And Michael's diving off the ladder on top of Razor, and then Razor finally winning. It was freaking nuts.
Number 8.
Number 8. You want to talk about an explosion? Look no further than Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man Randy Savage at WrestleMania 5. The Mega Powers explode! As they say. That match was crazy. Nuts. Intense. The promos that led up to it, and the story of the Mega Powers forming at WrestleMania 4, and they were always tag teaming throughout the whole year, and then Macho Man let the best get to him, thinking that Hogan wanted his woman when Hogan was saying no, it's not like that. But Macho Man, he just let his jealousy get to him. And then when they finally fought at WrestleMania 5, it was intense. Macho Man was just beating the fuck out of him, but Hogan was trying to fight back and everything, but it's like it hurt him to fight him. And Miss Elizabeth didn't want to see them fight either, but it was like, and freaking Jesse Ventura, get the fuck out of here, man. Nobody wants to hear your freaking ass on commentary. Like, get out of here. But the whole night, that whole match was really good, and you could tell that during this time of wrestling was just on fire. The late 80s going into 1990s was just on fire with the Hogamania era. And that WrestleMania really showed that time was intense when it came to pro wrestling and WWF and even WCW when it was becoming WCW. So Hogan and Macho Man, the Mega Powers Explode was incredible.
Number 7.
This one, you want to talk about an explosion? Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14. That match was crazy. That match was intense, especially with Mike Tyson as the ringside enforcer. That match was nuts. And it was also Shawn Michaels' last match before he had to retire the first time. And just the match was crazy. I loved it. And that one, as much as Hogan versus Savage, the Mega Powers Explode, really defined the excitement of the Hulkamania era of the late 80s going into the 1990s. Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold at WrestleMania 14 was definitely the highlight. One of the biggest highlights of the Attitude Era in the late 90s. And even though everybody wants to say Stone Cold and The Rock being Stone Cold and The Rock, Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold were, that match was crazy. Everybody would say, no, the match could have been a little better. You could be this and that. Oh, Shawn's back was bad. Everything, man. Everything was just bad. It was just bad. Bad. I want to slap the fuck out of these people so bad. But that match was great. I really loved it.
Number 6!
My God, this match right here. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. Like I said before, for WrestleMania 25, I did watch it with my pals T-Man, Big D, and Harpoon at his house. And to me, WrestleMania 25 just felt like a big, over-budget Monday Night Raw. Like, that was it. It was just a Monday Night Raw because there wasn't really too much excitement in a lot of matches that we've already seen before. But when it came to Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, they blew everybody away. We're talking, that match was like 90s All Japan quality. That match was like 2000s Pro Wrestling Noah quality. That match was crazy. It was intense. And especially when The Undertaker dove over the top rope. Looked like he dove into a pool onto the floor. That was crazy. But really and truly, one of the best matches by those two. The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Those guys came from the late Hulkamania era, and they was stars throughout the entire new generation and throughout the Attitude and Ruthless Aggression. Well, Shawn was like half of the Attitude era, but Undertaker was like all through it, and Michaels, especially when he came back in Ruthless Aggression era, and he was just kept going on fire. But that match was freaking nuts between two guys that went through like 4 different generations in the WWF. That was crazy and probably one of the best matches of WrestleMania. Like WrestleMania history right there.
Number 5!
I don't know how I can even do this one. I would say that this whole WrestleMania was the best card because but if I had to choose one, I would just pick Hulk Hogan versus The Rock from WrestleMania 18. Even though, like, I would just pick that one because really the entire show was good because, man, that WrestleMania, I went and watched it with a friend of mine from high school. We watched it live, and especially they had Saliva and Drownable in concert, and all the matches, everything from like RVD and William Regal, the hardcore match, Diamond Dallas Page and Christian Cage, Edge and Booker T, Kane and Kurt Angle, Ric Flair and The Undertaker, the tag match, the women's match, and even the main event with Triple H and Chris Jericho for the WWF title. Pretty much that whole show, it was just very sentimental to me. But I would just pick Hogan and Rock, but yeah, I don't know. Because I can't pick a favorite in that whole show. But I'll just pick Hogan and Rock. But even though that match was intense, it was good, but it was kind of what you would expect out of a match between those two at that time. But that whole match, that whole night, WrestleMania 18 was just very sentimental to me.
Number 4!
Sorry, y'all. Number 4 is... Oh, man. Now we're getting some big ones right here. That's Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13 with Ken Shamrock as the guest referee. That match was freaking crazy. It was a battle between Bret the Hitman Hart, the biggest hero of the WWF throughout the 1990s, meeting this tough redneck Stone Cold Steve Austin coming in, wanting to take over, and Bret was trying to like, what the fuck's this guy doing here? He's ruining everything. But they whipped the shit out of each other. freaking hitting each other over the head with chairs, with the ring bell, and going into the crowd. Ken Shamrock from the UFC, from the Ultimate Fighting Tournament, was there backing everybody off. He was just watching the whole match and calling the action. That was crazy. And then the climax of the whole thing was Bret had him in the sharpshooter. Blood was freaking gushing out his freaking face. And then he just passes out and he loses the match. Probably one of the most intense matches in WrestleMania history. Would people say that'd be a 5 stars? Yeah, it would be. I'd say it would be. Because those two, Bret was the, like I said, he was the face of the new generation. And then this Stone Cold Steve Austin comes in, wrecking shop and everything, and then he winds up becoming like the face of what would become Attitude Era. But Attitude Era was already in full swing during that time. So that really cemented Steve Austin as the face of the what would become the Attitude Era.
Number 3.
Oh man. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12. You want to talk about a marathon? A marathon between two of the biggest stars of the new generation era. Even though Bret was fighting for and defending the WWF title, and Shawn Michaels was always going for the Intercontinental Championship. And then towards the end, Michaels really wanted to start getting into the WWF title picture. And then finally, at WrestleMania 12, these two iconic stars did battle in 60-minute Iron Man match. To say that this was one of the best matches is an understatement. This match was legendary. Especially coming off of the new generation era, where it started off kind of like on the B side, but then it just started gradually getting better. As many people want to say, like, this era was probably one of the worst. It was the worst WWF, man. The 90s was bad. It was just bad, man. All the characters, all the gimmicks and everything. Yeah, shut up! If you go back and watch New Generation Era, especially seeing guys like Bret and Shawn and Razor, The Undertaker, and Owen Hart, and Yokozuna, Lex Luger, everybody in the whole era was good, despite what many people want to say. But to cap off the entire New Generation era was the two biggest stars of that time. That was Michaels and Bret, and the 60-minute Iron Man match between those two was one of the most intense matches that you would ever see at a WrestleMania. We're talking like All Japan levels of intensity and just all around legendary match. If you got time, get you some popcorn, get you some drinks and everything, sit and watch that whole match in its entirety. You're gonna see some of the best wrestling, some of the best high flying, and some of the most intense and grueling matches that you will ever watch and endure. Because that match was grueling and one of the best matches in WrestleMania history.
Number 2.
Oh man, this one right here got me. This one had gotten me. Number 2, greatest match ever. Fuck! It was the Dudley Boys versus the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian at WrestleMania 17. The hardcore ladder match, TLC match. My God! That match was fucking nuts! If you thought the one at WrestleMania 16 was bad, and then at SummerSlam 2000 was bad, this one, throwing in Rhino and Spike Dudley, fresh off of ECW's fall, and adding in Lita and this whole thing, it was one of the most insane matches you'll ever watch. And Jeff Hardy and his daredevil antics and everything, and Edge spearing him off of a ladder to the freaking floor. My God, he's broken in half! That was nuts! Oh man. But yeah, that was probably one. That whole night of WrestleMania 17 was very sentimental to me, much like 18 and 19. But Man, that whole night was good. Like almost all the matches was really good throughout WrestleMania 17, but really that TLC match capped it all off. And if you want to see freaking fucking carnage, watch that match. You will not be disappointed.
And now, number one.
Number one, huh? What could possibly be the number one best match of WrestleMania history, according to DwreckTV? I'm gonna go on a whim and say this. It is Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior from WrestleMania 6. It's the ultimate challenge between Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior for the WWF and Intercontinental Championship. That match, even though many people would say that those were two of the worst workers, worst wrestlers and such, you got to think. You got to put this into perspective. This was 1990. The two biggest stars in the World Wrestling Federation was Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. And even Macho Man and Ted DiBiase and Jake the Snake and all the others that was prevalent during that time. But freaking Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. Hogan was the WWF champion at that time, as well as the Ultimate Warrior was the Intercontinental champion. And those two in the main event, belt for belt, in the Sky Dome in Toronto, Canada. That right there was intensity. That right there was an explosion just waiting to happen. Because, like I said, two of the biggest stars going at it in the main event of a WrestleMania. You could not ask for more. That was incredible. Even though they didn't do wrestling moves like everybody wants to do and everything. It was just the star power, the intensity, the excitement. That's what you call a WrestleMania main event, with the excitement between two of the biggest stars. All jacked up and everything. They doing the test of strength. They doing the slams. They doing the moves. They doing the taunts. And the crowd's eating it all up. Why? Because that's what WrestleMania is all about. Those two right there. Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. Best WrestleMania main event ever. And out of every WrestleMania main event that I've watched, for better or for worse, I've seen some very bad ones. But I'd have to say, out of every WrestleMania main event, the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6 sits on top of the mountain as one of the most exciting WrestleMania matches and main events ever. And I have not seen one that ever came close to that. Finally, I can rest. Alright, I'm done. I'm done talking about WrestleMania. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope y'all find it enjoyable of my top 20 WrestleMania matches. What's y'all favorite matches from WrestleMania? I'd like to know. Leave the comments down in the comment section. I'm always reading them. And as far as the next WrestleMania, I think it's 42. I'm not gonna watch it because I'm not gonna waste. I don't really want to waste my time watching something that I already know is gonna be. It's a freaking facade. I see through the whole facade. But if some of my friends invite me, I'm not gonna tell them no. I'll go. I would only watch it if any of my friends like invite me over. But as far as like me watching it, I got other stuff I gotta be taken care of. So with that being said, this is D-Wreck and Hogan signing out. See y'all on the flip side, and never settle for less.
Thanks for watching Know-It-Alls, and keep it here tonight on WGNO 26 for Matlock next at 7. Then at 8, Chuck Norris stars in Delta Force 2, and at 10, Three's a Crowd when Fred and Lamont go into business with Julio on Sanford and Son. That's tonight on WGNO 26.
Hey, mate, what do you do when you see a crocodile? You run.